Hi everybody, I want to show you a project here that's now done. This is a Garrard 301. It was my father's turntable, and I now have it in a state where we can use it. Looks nice. I think it's a decent presentation of it, and I just want to quickly talk you through the history here. So my father's born in 1920. At 18 years of age, he started with Philco in Sandusky, Ohio. That would have been about the golden age of the radio at that time. I don't believe TVs were a thing yet. Radios were all tube devices. I know my father at an early age went out and learned radio repair, among other things. So he pretty much worked his entire career for Philco, in different capacities. He acquired this turntable, don't really know when. As far as, I know, he bought it new. There was a box that I remember in the house. And, it certainly hasn't been used a lot. Okay, it's pretty much the way it was when he had it and used it, other than this has been replaced. The original one was totally dried out. So this is a replacement. Otherwise, other than just cleaning it, there has been no restoration at all on this particular turntable. It's actually the same tone arm that he had on it. This record or needle lifter device here was also on it. This board that the turntable is currently mounted in was the board that he had the turntable mounted in. And the plinth here is a new creation. I actually found this piece of mahogany in my dad's basement years ago, and I just had it laying around my basement for decades. So finally we used it for a project. I have a good friend who does nice cabinetry work. He built this cabinet for me, specifically for this turntable, and I did the finishing and the stain on it. And I'm pretty happy with the way it worked out. Now, the other thing that's changed is I have recently added a strobe to this, and have that working now. You can see it's lit up. I will, you get a little better look at it when it's running. The Garrard's a direct drive turntable and has adjustment in it for speed. It does also support 45 and even 78, which is hard to get nowadays. So everything's working fine. I'll turn this back on. The actual tone arm is a Shure M232 tone arm. That's the one my dad had on it. It is a different cartridge now than what he had. Now, I want to tell you the history of this. When he had it, he built a stereo console. That was the thing, right, in the late 60s and into the 70s, where these big stereo consoles were, you had all your different pieces of equipment together. Typically, you'd buy the console. My dad built one, right? And this turntable was one of the pieces, one of the components he used in that project. It was a beast of a console. And as I remember it, he had a separate amplifier that was, I'm quite sure that was tubes in the initial incarnation. I believe there was a separate tuner, as I remember it. And he also had a reel-to-reel tape deck. I don't remember if the tape deck made it into the console or not, but I certainly remember him playing demo stereo tapes on that reel-to-reel, and you could really hear what stereo gave you. There would be things like a train running from left to right, or an airplane running across you could hear the motion in the music, is the bottom line. And I can remember listening to my earliest rock and roll on that stereo system using headphones. He had a wonderful set of Koss headphones. And, you know, he didn't really appreciate that kind of music. So I'd listen to it on the headphones. So, you know, he didn't have to hear it. But, and of course, that at the time, that music wasn't played very often. You know, I had to listen at specific times of the day, like maybe Sunday night from 7 till 9. You know, they would feature some of the new rock. So a lot of good memories there. So at this point, a couple of things I want to point out about this. The way I have this wired up is there is a 3-prong plug for the turntable. The ground on the motor, in the manual, they say it's for earth ground. So this is how you get an earth ground. So to get that, you're going to have to plug it into a valid 3 grounded, you know, plug. But unfortunately, a plug like this, you're not going to be able to put into your switched output on your vintage receiver. So what I did with the strobe, you know, there's a separate power supply for the strobe. I have that hooked up to the switched power supply on a receiver so that when I turn the receiver on, that will come on. But, you know, it's a 2-prong plug. It doesn't have the fat part so that it'll go into your, you know, your vintage stereo receiver. So I'm just going to turn this on for a few seconds. I don't really want to get demonetized, but it does work. A little test receiver down here is so are we on? Yeah, we're on. This is totally manual. That's all the more I'm going to give you. Because you know YouTube will demonetize me, and I don't want to do that. Turn that off, you can see the strobe a little better. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's a nice, I just feel good that I pulled this together. You know, I think Dad would be happy with it.